many times have you heard the phrase, "it's got a Mezger in it"? We all know it's some sort of legendary power plant immune to criticism, but what is a Mezger? Well, enjoy the story as best I can tell it. The name is derived from a man, Hans Mezger. Born in 1929, he got an engineering degree in Stuttgart, then in 1957 went to work for Porsche. He devised a clever formula for calculating cam shapes, which allegedly saved the company quite a bit of money in their early days. In the 1960s, he was tasked with building an engine for the successor to the 356, a car we now call the 911. That flat six layout has become an inseparable part of the 911's identity. So in many ways, all 911s for a very long time had a Mezger engine in them. He was soon given the role of being boss for Motorsport R&D, where he was responsible for a key part of one of the most famous race cars of all time. Porsche were determined to win at Le Mans. They'd enjoyed class success, but never overall. This had to change, and the 917 was the car to do it. Rules of the time stipulated that engines could be no larger than 3 litres, unless there were 25 or more homologation vehicles produced, in which case you could go up to 5 litres. The 917 got given a 4.5 litre flat 12 designed by Mezger, not a boxer for packaging reasons, instead a 180 degree V12. And in order to get the 25 cars made in time, the story goes that even the tea ladies were sent down to the production line. But make the car they did, and although early vehicles were beset by problems, mostly handling, they eventually saw victory, and that engine later grew into a 1,000+ horsepower turbo monster in the 917 Can-Am cars. But if you asked Hans what his favourite engine was, he'd tell you it was the Tag Formula 1 lump, the 1.6 litre V6 turbo from that amazing era of Formula 1 which gave both Niki Lauda and Alain Prost championships. However, these aren't the engines you think of when you say Mezger. You think of 996 and 997 GTs and turbos. So what are they all about then? The engine was originally designed for use in the 911 GT1 race car. It was built, as many motorsport items are, with cost simply as an afterthought. The GT1 was a crossover vehicle. It had very little to do with any road-going 911, but it's notable for wearing the headlights from both the 993 and 996 era of cars. The engine in that car was a 3.2 litre twin-turbocharged flat 6. Now, the, at the time, newly designed 911 and Boxster engines and the Mezger both share the same basic engine code, M96 and later M97, but little else. There are several other cars which contributed to the design of the Mezger engines, including pieces from the 962 and also the 959. Some of the race engines featured individual heads per cylinder, but road-going cars got a single head per bank to save cost. The head design is inspired by the 959's 4-valve water-cooled unit, revolutionary for Porsche at the time, but considerably reworked to fit the modern engine's dimensions. The engine was clearly designed for revs, a massive 100mm bore versus a short 76mm stroke in 3.6 litre guise, meaning that you really needed to work it to get the best from it. Allegedly, it was good for about 10,000 RPM, although I suspect the people who said that didn't work in the warranty department. The 997.2 GT3's unit saw 8,400 RPM as a factory redline, matching that of the incredible Carrera GT. More importantly though, the durability requirements of racing meant that the Mezger units had genuine dry sump lubrication. That brings several key benefits. In a dry sump system, oil is forcibly pulled out of the block by scavenge pumps, it's held in a separate tank and then can be sprayed where it's needed. That means that in hard cornering, you don't suffer oil starvation by the pickups being dried out. It also means that the engine can be mounted lower because there's no large sump under it, and it means that the engine will run longer and harder because oil can be sprayed where it's needed. Dry sump cars also tend to carry more oil, which helps cooling too. This is very similar to the design which was used in the old air-cooled units. The Mezger engine had a much better system for cooling and lubricating the engine overall, and this is one reason they never suffered the same failures associated with the regular Carrera engine of the 996, Boxster, Cayman and the early 997. The man himself retired in the mid-1990s, but his engines saw service in the 911 GT and Turbo lineup for many years after. The Turbo lasted until the 997.1, but the motor's swan song was undeniably the incredible 997.2 GT3 RS 4 litre, a 500 horsepower monster and a fitting exit for an iconic engine. So the next time someone tells you that their car has a Mezger in it, just remember that for almost 50 years, wherever there was a 9/11, you could probably find the work of Hans Mezger. Thanks, Hans.